Using the Pythagorean identity for tangents and cotangents, in this problem we're given that tangent theta is negative 4.21 and theta is between pi over 2 and pi, and we want to find secant theta. So, remembering the Pythagorean identity, tan squared theta plus 1 is equal to secant squared theta. And so if we plug in what we're given here, tangent squared theta, that's negative 4.21 squared plus 1 is equal to secant squared theta. Well, 4.21 squared, that's something I'm going to work out on my calculator. Is 17.7241. So 17.7241 plus 1 is secant squared theta. So that's 18.7241 is secant squared theta. And so if I take the square root of both sides, I get secant theta is equal to plus or minus the square root of 18.7241. And again, I'm going to do that square root on the calculator. And I get approximately 4.33. The question here is whether we want the positive or negative square root. And that's where we use the other piece of information that was given in the problem. Theta is in the second quadrant here. Theta is between pi over 2 and pi. So theta is somewhere over here. Now secant theta, remember, is 1 over cosine theta. In the second quadrant, if you remember, all students take calculus. In the second quadrant, sine is positive, but cosine is not. So cosine is negative, and that means that secant theta is negative. Theta is in quadrant 2. So cosine of theta is negative. So secant theta, because that's 1 over cosine theta, is negative. So secant theta, we want to take the negative square root there, and we get an approximate value of negative 4.33. So that negative is very important. So the key to that problem is, first of all, invoking this Pythagorean identity. Tangent squared plus 1 is equal to secant squared. So that's very important to remember. We plug in the value that we're given, and then we work it through and we try to solve for secant theta, but we get this plus or minus at the end because we don't know if we want the positive square root or the negative square root. That's where we use the fact that theta is in the second quadrant. Since theta is in the second quadrant, cosine theta must be negative, and so secant theta, remember, is just 1 over cosine theta, must also be negative. That's how we know we want the negative square root there, so we get negative 4.33.